What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, June 2nd. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as outfielder Ramon Laureano was placed on the 10-day IL with hip inflammation. This should be a minimum stay for Laureano. It does not seem to be too severe of an injury, but in a corresponding move, outfielder Jace Bowen was selected from the minors. He's the Padres' number 23 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. He signed a minor league contract with the Padres over the offseason after failing in the Pirates organization. And as a 25-year-old at AAA this year, Bowen has batted .292 with 13 homers, 7 steals, and a 121 WRC plus. And it looks like he's going to take over full-time in left field until Laureano returns. Starting pitcher Nick Pivetta was transferred to the 60-day IL in a corresponding move to make room for Bowen on the 40-man roster. Pivetta is still recovering from a flexor tendon strain that he landed on the IL with back in mid-April. And lastly, infielder Braden Shoemake was placed on the 10-day IL with an adductor strain. Shoemake was filling in as a utility infielder across the Astros infield, and with Shoemake gone, Bryce Matthews will see everyday playing time at second base, and Nick Allen will fill a similar role to that of Shoemake's, backing up across the infield. Outfielder Zach Cole was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move and will be the club's 5th outfielder. In terms of transactions, closing pitcher Josh Hader was activated from the 60-day IL after missing the entire season thus far with biceps tendonitis. Hader will take over as the Astros closer moving forward, and relief pitcher Logan Van Way was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, second baseman Gleyber Torres was activated from the 10-day IL after missing about a month with an oblique strain. Torres will reclaim everyday second base duties for the Tigers, and he homered in his first day back, proving his health. Second baseman Hao Yu Lee was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And lastly, starting pitcher Jordan Wicks was optioned to the minors. Both Matthew Boyd and Edward Cabrera are expected back this week or next week for Boyd, possibly. Cabrera definitely this week. Reliever Tyler Ferguson was recalled to the minors in a corresponding move. And in terms of news, outfielder Aaron Judge has been dealing with shoulder soreness caused by a bone bruise in his ribs, and he's been dealing with that all season, which can sort of blame his underwhelming. I did some air quotes for people that aren't watching over on YouTube, because Judge, the quality for Judge, the baseline that he set for what a good season is so high that even him underperforming is still really incredible. But nonetheless, Judge will meet with a doctor to determine if this bone bruise requires an IL stint. Next, outfielder Lars Nootbaar is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL on Friday. He's missed all season after undergoing heel surgery back in October. Nootbaar should take over every day in left field for the Cardinals when he returns, maybe seeing some time at DH, allowing Ivan Herrera to see more regular playing time at catcher. And lastly, starting pitcher Edward Cabrera is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL on Saturday to start versus the Giants. He's missed a couple of weeks with a blister on his finger, so Cabrera will return this weekend. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Carson Bench, who did all he could, but the Mets lost in Seattle. Bench went 2 for 3 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, 3 runs batted in, and a walk for good measure. He's up to 6 homers on the year now. First one went 394 feet at 110 miles per hour, and the second one 399 feet at 102 miles per hour. Bench homered in his career debut on opening day, but then immediately cooled down with a 35 WRC plus through the end of April. He batted under 200 with just 1 homer and looked completely overmatched in the majors. But since the calendar flipped to May, Bench has looked like the hype prospect we were excited about in the offseason, batting 295 with a 125 WRC plus, vaulting himself into the leadoff spot for the Mets. The power was still missing, though, with just a couple of homers across May until he turned in his first career multi-homer game yesterday, with the first of those homers setting a new max exit velocity at nearly 110 miles per hour. The underlying metrics during Bench's hot streak support future success, as he has a 13% barrel rate and a sub 20% strikeout rate. Expect Bench to be both a power and speed contributor with an elite batting average and run scoring numbers atop the Mets lineup. I think Bench is a must roster in the majority of leagues at the moment. Next, outfielder Spencer Steer helped the Reds to win against the Royals, going 2 for 4 with 3 runs, 2 home runs, and 2 runs batted in. He's up to 9 homers on the year now. The first one went 420 feet at 106 miles per hour, and the second one 374 feet at 100 miles per hour. I was a bit skeptical when Steer started getting hot back in May because of his underwhelming performances the past 2 years, where he batted around 230 with 20 homers without hitting the ball particularly hard. But that's changed this year, as Steer's not only sporting a career-high 13% barrel rate on the season, but he's hitting the ball hard more consistently with a career-high 90-mile-per-hour average exit velocity, allowing him to capitalize when he does lift the ball and turn in more hits when he's not hitting the ball over the fence. With multi-position eligibility while calling Great American Ballpark home, Steer is worth rostering everywhere with 4-category production, and we may just have to give up on his days of stealing 15-plus bases, but we know it's in there, so there is potential for 5-category production from Spencer Steer. Lastly, we have outfielder Heriberto Hernandez, who helped the Marlins to win in our nation's capital, going 2 for 5 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 5 homers on the year now. First one went 403 feet at 104 miles per hour, and the second one went 397 feet at 110 miles per hour. Hernandez is on the short side of a platoon for the Marlins, seeing time in the outfield and at DH, so he doesn't get many opportunities to show what he's capable of at the plate. But we saw last year what he was capable of with above average production with a 118 WRC plus, and we saw last night that Hernandez has legit power. While he hasn't displayed the same overall skill, though, with a 90 WRC plus. The stats under the hood, though, suggest Hernandez has actually improved this year, reducing his strikeout rate by nearly 5% while maintaining impressive hard hit numbers and being more aggressive on the base paths with 5 steals already. I don't think Hernandez needs to be held in any league because of his lack of playing time, but he is someone worth considering as a streamer against lefty starters in daily moves leagues. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now I'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Kyle Harrison, who helped the Brewers to win against the Giants, tossing 5 2/3 innings, allowing 4 hits and 1 earned run while walking 2 and striking out 12. 19 whiffs and 37% CSW across 106 pitches Harrison had, and he pulled off the BSB Blake Snell blueprint with 13 four-seam fastball whiffs upstairs and 6 curveball whiffs downstairs. And I think as long as he commands those 2 pitches like he has with the same pitch movement and velocity that he's improved this season, I think Harrison is going to be great. Next, we have Logan Gilbert, who helped the Mariners to win against the Mets, tossing 5 1/3 innings, allowing 4 hits and 3 earned runs, walking 1 while fanning 8. He induced 21 whiffs with 31% CSW across 99 pitches, and Gilbert earned the Gallows pull as he led baseball with those 21 whiffs. Gilbert was bit by the aforementioned Carson Bench twice as he hit a pair of home runs against him, but was otherwise dominant with 9 whiffs on four-seam fastballs, 7 whiffs on sliders, and a trio of whiffs on splitters. I think Gilbert will be great more often than not. Next, we have Aaron Nola, who helped the Phillies to win against the Padres, tossing 5 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs, walking nobody while striking out 8. He induced 15 whiffs with 39% CSW across 95 pitches, and he earned the King Cole by leading baseball with that 39% CSW. We haven't had the best version of Nola this year. We haven't had the best version of Nola in a while, but his last 2 starts have looked different after returning A+ skills grades. Last time he came out with similar stuff yesterday and was a CSW monster, inducing 10 whiffs with curveballs downstairs and stealing 15 called strikes with heaters in the zone. Nola's problem this year has been fastball command, and he's worked more east-west across his last 2 starts with his sinker. And it still feels a bit precarious, though, with sinkers going sub 60% strikes and four-seamers going 92% strikes, suggesting that there's isn't consistency with those pitches. The sinker is just around the zone. The four-seamers landing in the zone may be a bit too much, but there's also the point that he's done this against the same offense twice. His last good start came against the Padres. This was against the Padres as well. Will the White Sox next be so kind as to let Nola get away with so many hittable heaters in the zone? Honestly, I'm willing to take the chance to find out in the hopes of getting in on Nola's resurgence early. The stuff grades, the skills grades just look too good right now, and Nola's track record of success has me more willing to take the chance than I would be with other pitchers. Lastly, we have Gage Jump, who helped the A's to win on the north side of Chicago, tossing 7 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run, walking 1 while striking out 5. He induced just 5 whiffs with 25% CSW across 85 pitches. And I felt like I'd get some slack for putting Jump in the do not start tier after he dominated the Cubs for 7 frames here. But when I saw the whiff total, I felt vindicated that the process was right. Jump went 70% four seamers and sliders with the intent to go Blake Snell blueprint with fastballs up and sliders down, but he failed to do so with plenty of heaters landing low or middle, and nearly half of his sliders landing in the top half of the zone. Not only did Jump get away with those hittable pitches in the zone, as four seamers stole 9 called strikes and returned a whopping 14 foul balls, but he was also lucky when the fastballs were put into play, or when all of his pitches were put into play, as Jump went 14 for 17 on outs on balls in play. That's very fortunate, very low BABIP there. He was a tick up on his heater at 97 miles per hour, and it's a great pitch. It's got great shape, and it does lend some credibility for his ability to thrive in the zone, but the locations were all over the place. He was clearly lucky to avoid so much damage with all those foul balls and the batted ball luck. And Jump doesn't appear to have the best weapons to handle righties, the batters he'll faced most often in the majors, with his curveball and changeup combining for just 40% strikes at 23% usage. I just don't think that slider is the best secondary option for him, especially because he doesn't command it like he should. And I don't really want to test that Jump can make the improvements that we didn't see here that suggest that he's going to see a performance much worse than this last one. He's going to head to Houston in his next start. And like I said, I don't want to test that out. But if you like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Emmanuel De Jesus pitched a perfect 4-inning save, his first of the season. Yohan Duran struck out the side in order for his 13th save of the year. Rico Garcia had a perfect ninth for his 4th save. Raisel Iglesias recorded his 11th save with a scoreless ninth. Yoendrys Gomez had a perfect 4-out save, his 4th save of the year. It looks like he's the preferred option for saves in that Twins bullpen right now, but they haven't used him as a traditional closer. Obviously, you can tell with the 4-out save here, but sometimes he'll pitch the 6th inning. He's just most likely to have saves right now because he has twice as many saves as anybody else on that roster. That's Yoendrys Gomez of the Twins. Jacob Junis pitched a scoreless ninth for his 4th save. Jacob Latz was unavailable after pitching in back-to-back games. Hogan Harris got the final out of the game after Scott Barlow failed to lock down the save. It was Harris's 5th save of the season. Gregory Soto got the final 2 outs of the game after Dennis Santana worked into trouble. It was Soto's 8th save of the year, and Tanner Scott recorded his 6th save with a scoreless ninth. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Caleb Killian recorded the final 2 outs of the 7th, trailing by 3. Eric Miller pitched a scoreless 6th, and I think it's clear neither of those guys are the closer, and I'd be targeting Keaton Winn for saves in that Giants bullpen. Trevor McGill pitched a perfect ninth up by 5 after the Brewers tacked on 4 insurance runs in the 8th to ruin McGill's save opportunity. Brian Baker pitched a scoreless 8th down by 8. The bullpen for the Rays was overworked on Monday, and their starter failed to complete the 2nd inning on Tuesday. So the Rays really just needed an arm to get them to the 9th inning so they could use a position player pitcher, and Baker was one of the few guys who hadn't been overworked recently. Lucas Erceg served up a solo shot to the first batter he faced to blow his 6th save. The Royals would go on to lose in 10 innings, and Erceg's been terrible recently. I think it's something like 8 earned runs in his last 4 appearances in which he's allowed a run in all of them. The ERA is nearing 7, and the Royals need to switch things up in the 9th inning. My money's on Daniel Lynch, but I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Strahm is in there. Those two are both lefties, so if you're looking for a top righty, they could go with John Schreiber, who earned the loss in this one, but I think the best option right now is actually Alex Lang. He's looked a lot better in recent weeks, but like I said, Daniel Lynch is my favorite in this Royals bullpen. Riley O'Brien pitched the 9th in a tie game and ended up allowing 3 runs to take his 3rd loss. And lastly, Daniel Palencia pitched a scoreless 9th down by 1. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's daily articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, June 3rd, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. So our matchup of the day is Garrett Cole versus Gavin Williams. We got 2 guys who have the ability to rack up the strikeouts. It should be a great pitcher's duel, Cole versus Williams on Wednesday. In terms of probable starters, we've got 7 guys in the auto starts tier, including Cole. We've also got Paul Skeens in Houston, Christopher Sanchez versus the Padres, and Shohei Ohtani in Arizona. Our probably starts tier has 9 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Troy Melton in Tampa Bay. Melton has looked very solid in his first 2 starts. I wouldn't say amazing. He's pitched deep into games. He hasn't allowed a lot of damage, but he's also, I think, combined for 3 or 4 strikeouts in his first 2 starts. So he hasn't looked as overwhelming as we would have expected. I think that's a result of his lack of command, but nonetheless, I think Melton is pretty safe to start in Tampa Bay. I'd also keep an eye out for Walbert Urania versus the Rockies outside of Coors. And you know how that usually goes. The Rockies offense is not great, though they did just take down Grayson Rodriguez pretty spectacularly. But Urania has been on fire all season, carrying himself with a lot of emphasis on his changeup while pumping upper 90s heaters around the zone, avoiding damage because he relies so heavily on the changeup. He's also leaning more on his sweeper recently, making him somebody that seems like he's going to have more sustainable success because he has more weapons versus right-handed pitchers. So I love Urania, or right-handed batters. I love Urania versus Rockies. In terms of hitter suggestions, I target Twins hitters versus Eric Fetty in target field because Fetty has a 5.40 ERA. I'd also target Red Sox hitters versus Chris Bassett in Fenway Park. It's a great hitter's park, and Bassett has a 5.06 ERA. I'd also target Royals and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. It's a great hitter's park, and we'll see Stephen Kolek square off against Chase Burns. And lastly, I target Angels hitters versus Michael Lorenzen in Angel Stadium because Lorenzen has a 7.22 ERA, the highest in the majors this season. Now we can close things out with our relievers to watch. Yoendrys Gomez has pitched on back-to-back days, so I think Taylor Rogers would be the best bet for a save, but really anyone's possibility out of that Twins bullpen. They have not been predictable with their closer usage, and everybody else should be available. But if you're looking for like lower rostered relievers or bullpens that are undecided where you're trying to vulture some saves, I like Will Vest for the Tigers. I like Daniel Lynch or Matt Strahm in Kansas City. I like Kirby Yates or Sam Bachman for the Angels, Brock Burke or Sam Moll for the Reds, and Keaton Winn for the Giants. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, where I do daily SP streamers and I break down every single start via the Pitcher List stats player cards. Tune into YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.